Welcome back to the historical section of the Canterlot Archives. I'm SkyShadow the Archivist. How can I help you today? Ah, you're still reading the condensed history of Equestria, I see. What volume were you on? 5? Another patron returned that volume a short while ago. Lately, it seems a lot of ponies have become more interested in our nation's history. Just give me a moment to find the book for you. Here we are. This is one of my favorite volumes in the series because it deals with an age that, until recently, was blurred by mythology and legend. I can summarize it for you if you don't mind. Shall we? The princesses had returned from their battle with Sombra. Even though they defeated the evil king, to the princesses, the Crystal Empire was an utter failure. Sombra had completely stonewalled their attempts to use the elements of harmony, his curse leaving behind only remnants of his dark magic. What's more, Luna had been injured in the fight, so Celestia had to take on the duties of ruling by herself while her sister recovered. Amongst the historical texts and tales, there is an emerging pattern of Celestia's popularity overtaking Luna's, as the Moon Princess seems to simply be left out of most court records, mentioned only as an afterthought. There's a great deal of historical evidence showing numerous events celebrating Princess Celestia and her defeat of Sombra, but not Princess Luna. Perhaps this was due to her injuries, but Luna's absence at court allowed for Celestia to become the focus of public opinion. With her sister absent from the throne, Celestia was forced to assume all the duties of ruling alone, placing her under a great deal of stress and scrutiny. She also suffered under the depression of the Crystal Empire's loss, and Luna's absence only made this more difficult. So when the High Pony Council offered to help alleviate her of some of her royal duties, Celestia gratefully accepted. She allowed the council to take on many responsibilities to ease her burden while her sister recovered. The council had always been the strongest supporter of the princess's diarchy, so there was no reason to distrust them. But in her distraught state, Celestia was incapable of spotting the trouble brewing amongst her proclaimed supporters. When Princess Luna at last returned to court, she found her power greatly lessened. Celestia had allowed the council to take over many of her sister's responsibilities, leaving her with little more than the control of the night. What's more, the council did not readily give up their newfound power. Luna voiced her discontent to her sister, but the council merely stated concern for the princess's health as their reasoning. Many ponies already viewed Luna as the inferior of the royal sisters. She was not as powerful, not as wise, and many believed her outcry to be fueled by the vanity of youth. And while perhaps she might not have been fully recovered, there was a certain amount of truth to Luna's concerns. And so, the council began to quietly spread rumors suggesting that Luna's injuries were more than could be seen. That, perhaps, in their fight with Sombra, the evil king's dark magic had somehow tainted the Princess of the Night. The council took great care to keep these rumors from reaching Celestia's ears, but she was still concerned for her sister's growing unhappiness. She began privately investigating the council's actions in hopes of placating Luna's worries. However, she instead wound up discovering Luna's fears to be well-founded. Many in the council shared sympathies with the herd of Astros, the cult that worshipped the princesses as deities. And while most in Equestria held the princesses in very high esteem, the cult was known for their extreme views. The power Celestia had granted to the council to aid her had also given the cult very real control over Equestria's government. Unbeknownst to her, they had implemented laws to force their radical views onto others. Immigrants and survivors of the lost Crystal Empire who had fled to Equestria for safety were now being coerced into a religion that was not their own. They had even gone so far as to imprison those who refused, and all in Celestia's own name. The princess was horrified, and worse, the self-same power she had granted them had also robbed her of the ability to stop them. It left the princess with only one solution to restore peace and her good name. rather than taking military action against the cult, Celestia chose to publicly address their actions, making it known that she was aware and did not approve. She announced that if it was in her name they were carrying out such atrocities, then she would abdicate her throne and leave Equestria to rule itself. For harmony was not about conforming to one belief, but embracing all beliefs equally. Celestia was the chosen focus of worship for the herd of Astros, and her admonishment was akin to excommunication. Fearing the abandonment of their deity, the cult forswore their political ambitions, restoring the princess to full ruling power. Celestia then ordered the release of all those they had been trying to convert through force, and the disbanding of the herd of Astros. From that day forward, the cult would spend their remaining days making amends to those they had wronged, which they vowed to do if Celestia remained as Equestria's princess. The disbanding of the High Pony Council, one of Equestria's oldest governmental offices, was not met without some sadness. But the incident had made Celestia much more conscious of her decisions and their resulting consequences. As a ruler, she benefited greatly from the experience, and the ponies of Equestria adored her all the more for overcoming those struggles. But what of Luna? Even though ruling now fell squarely onto the shoulders of the princesses, Luna's return to the throne went almost unnoticed. The Moon Princess had been away from the courts for almost half a generation by this point, and the royal court had changed drastically. Celestia tried to support her sister and help her regain her authority, but the rumors of the disbanded council had done their damage. Even in her own eyes, Luna was superfluous to the crown. It was Celestia who had ousted the herd of Astros and defeated King Sombra. It was Celestia who raised the life-giving sun to the cheers and adulation of Equestria. Amidst that deafening praise, Luna's voice was simply drowned out. A rift had been growing between the two sisters that now widened into a gaping chasm. Luna became resentful and lonely, and Celestia was simply unable to understand the source of her sister's agony. Her efforts to involve Luna only seemed to amplify the Moon Princess's insecurities. The sisters had become estranged, and Luna retreated into their castle, emerging only for necessary appearances or to carry out her duty of raising the moon. Luna's presence at court was minimal. She did not feel welcome among the nobles and courtiers fawning over Celestia, all faces she no longer recognized. In lieu of her lost time at court, Luna had been expanding upon her craft, sculpting constellations in the night sky. Astronomy was not a popular subject at this time in history, which is truly a shame, as it was the Night Princess herself that invented the phases of the moon. Many of the constellations we know today were, in fact, implemented by Princess Luna during this era, and many more were lost when she was sealed. Celestia herself has lamented that she could not match her sister's ability. Unfortunately, Luna's hard work went unnoticed, except on paper. One can only imagine what it was like for her to watch the lights in Pony's homes go dark before her moon had even risen. Ultimately, Luna's resentment overcame her, and she abandoned her duties of controlling the night, leaving the moon in the sky. The long night came at a time when Equestria could ill afford it. Harvest season was soon approaching, and without the sun, the crops would wither. Celestia tried to convince her sister to lower the moon, but Luna had locked herself away in the castle, listening to no one, and Celestia no longer had the support of the council to assist in keeping the masses assured. She attempted to use her magic to support the harvest while still trying to convince her sister. But the fears of her people began to weigh on her, and she was the only one they could turn to. Reluctantly, Celestia finally took it on herself to end the long night, and wrested control over the moon with some difficulty. The ponies of Equestria cheered in joy, but for Luna, it was the last straw. In its long history, Equestria has known few eclipses, most specifically from the time of the Cataclysm, when the sun and moon ran rampant in the sky. But this was the very first solar eclipse ever witnessed by pony kind. Infuriated by Celestia's actions, Luna seized control of the moon once again, placing it over the sun and darkening the sky. And from its blackness emerged the tainted princess in starlight armor. Nightmare Moon was born. It's said that their battle raged throughout the sky, Celestia faring poorly against the unbridled hatred empowering her sister. Legend states that Celestia used the elements of harmony to defeat Nightmare Moon, but as has been proven with the new bearers of the elements, Luna should have been completely purged of the evil contaminating her. Instead, Celestia was only capable of sealing her away in the moon itself, after which she never again wielded the elements. It's now theorized that no one pony can wholly control the elements of harmony, not even an alicorn. It's also possible that there were other unknown complications for the princess, and so utilizing the elements at their strongest was impossible. On her own, Celestia could not fully control the powers of the elements, and so sealing her sister away was the best she could manage. Furthermore, once Nightmare Moon was banished, there was no possible way Celestia could ever harness the full powers of the elements again. Whatever the reason, the end result was clear. Luna was gone, and now Celestia truly had to rule alone. This is a point in history where things become somewhat muddled. There is shockingly little historical evidence about both the rise of Nightmare Moon and the days following her defeat. About the most any pony can find about Nightmare Moon are obscure legends and old mare's tales. Even this particular volume happens to be a revision made after Princess Luna's return. There is an explanation, of course. If you review the royal edicts of this time, there's a particular decree that stands out regarding Princess Luna. It gave Princess Celestia the right to control anything written about her sister and Nightmare Moon, which implies that the princess wanted to protect her sister's reputation. It can ultimately be reasoned that this edict was the cause of the disconnect between Luna and Nightmare Moon, why no pony realized that they were one and the same. Over time, Luna was forgotten by history as the princess had vanished, and Nightmare Moon became nothing more than a myth. The age itself saw a drastic change in opinion about Celestia, however. Frightened by the idea that one of their beloved rulers had turned against them, the ponies of Equestria were suddenly very wary of the Alicorn princess. These fears were fed by Celestia's banishment of every pony from the royal court. Celestia had fallen into mourning. The loss of her sister by her own hooves was devastating to the princess. Not only that, but Celestia now had to manage the night as well as the day, and controlling the intricate details of her sister's work was magically and emotionally taxing on her. The princess had effectively withdrawn from ruling, retreating into her castle. Without Celestia's presence, the ponies of Equestria had no one to look up to for guidance and safety. I hope you enjoy Volume 5 of the Condensed History of Equestria. Volume 6 will see Equestria's struggle to recover after Nightmare Moon's rebellion. It's out right now, though, I'm sorry to say. As I mentioned before, there's been quite an increase of interest in equestrian history as of late. The head librarian is actually considering ordering additional copies of our historical references. The archives usually carries only 1 or 2 of any particular writing, so that's very unusual. I'll try to set aside the next book for you when it's returned, though. As always, thank you for coming. I hope to see you soon.
Hello, everybody. Can you believe that Historical Equestria has reached over 500 subscribers? Holy cow, am I right? So, to thank you for all your support, we'll be hosting a special Q&A episode to air after the conclusion of the condensed history of Equestria, and before the history of Zebraca episodes. Follow the link here or in the description to reach the Ask Box of our Tumblr and send in your questions for us. But be sure to specify if you're asking a question of me, the Overmare, or of SkyShadow. SkyShadow will answer all your history-related questions, and I'll take care of everything else. That way, we'll be sure to get you the answer you're looking for. Until next time!